So several days ago, we were taking a look at this X570 Aorus Elite Wi-Fi, and I had a few problems trying to get to post with a couple of different processors in it. Today, we're going to revisit that. All right, so overall, I found the board itself to be pretty high quality. I like some of the features. There was a few things like the placement of the fans, where the fan headers are, one of them being up near the CPU cooler or the CPU power, that I didn't think was a really good position. But overall, I thought it was a pretty decent board, and I was looking forward, or am looking forward, to working with it. And it's going to go in a friend of mine's build, and I think they'll be pretty happy with it overall. And I figured that if nothing else, it would give me an opportunity to kind of test things and make sure that things like the Gigabyte's Fusion 2.0, that lighting suite works, and see how well that actually works with other things. Now, the problem I did have is on the box. The box does say that it supports 1000 series and 2000 series Ryzen processors. There's a caveat. In fact, if you go back and look, there's a whole list of processors that it does support, but there's a couple things missing. It does not support the older Ryzen 14 millimeter. It supports the revised Ryzen 1200, I think it was. It's the Ryzen 3, 1200, and 1600 AF models, which are built on the 12 nanometer, which is actually the Ryzen Plus, or the 2000 series Ryzens. So technically, it does support a couple of the 1000 series processors. However, if I just read this box like I did and thought, okay, I'll be able to slap that regular 1600 in there, it doesn't work. And I've been able to go back and actually verify that. Another thing I was able to go back and verify is that it is not set up for the 4000G, some of the 4000G. It is set up for the 4000G Pro series. So if you have a 4350G, a 4650G, or a 4750G, it will work. However, it does not look like it's set up yet for the 5600G and 5700G that are coming out August 5th. So hopefully there will be a revision to a BIOS if anybody's wanting to use that processor, so to be able to use this motherboard. Because what I'm finding is it's actually a pretty decent motherboard. I was able to go ahead and put in the 4350G, and after some heart-stopping moments, probably about 40 seconds or 45 seconds of not being sure if it was going to come up or not, it did. And it read both the regular stock memory I had that I got for the HP pre-built, and a set of Trident Z memory, which will come into play a little bit later because we're also going to talk about the Fusion software. Because it does say that Fusion, the Trident Z is Fusion 2.0 ready. So we'll kind of discover what that means a little bit as well. So I was able to go ahead and make it work with a GTX 1650 Super. I then went ahead and tested it with the Gigabyte RTX 3060, and pleased to announce that all of those combinations worked. The older memory, or just the regular standard value memory, the Trident Z memory, the 1650 Super, the RTX 3060, all of those worked in combination with the 4350. I already do know they work with the 3600X, so I feel pretty confident that most of your Ryzen processors are going to work well on this board, and you're not going to have much of a problem. Where I would stay away or be wary is, in fact, if you've got an older one, say a 1600 or 1700X, I have both of those processors I would not be able to use in this board, and that's understandable. It is an X570. It is more geared toward the later Ryzen processors, and that does make perfect sense. I can't complain so far about the operation of this. Overall, the BIOS, I didn't even think to try to record the BIOS or anything, but it worked out pretty well. It was easy to set up, easy to see the XMP profile, and actually selected the XMP profile by default when I was trying to use the Trident memory. And of course, with the older value memory, it was already clocked at 3200. It's what they call JEDEC memory, JEDC memory, which is already clocked at that because it has looser timings. It's a little bit more involved. But with the Trident memory that can be overclocked to 3600, it automatically had that selection for me, and it was already selected by default. So I was a little bit surprised to see that, but I was okay with it. Once I got into the software itself, and I went ahead and opened up Fusion, there were, we'll say, a few little challenges. Now, this does not work with Corsair's, the Corsair IQ software. It doesn't advertise to. I didn't think it would. You should be able to set those up. In this case, I'm using an all-in-one cooler. It's an H100i all-in-one cooler. So you should be able to set that up where the colors either stay the same color as the Gigabyte stuff that you've got working or similar colors. I did like the accents on the board itself. There are several little subdued, like RGB type strips that are built into the board that I thought was a really, really nice touch, and it gave accent to a couple of places that you normally wouldn't find, but it gives that ambient light. And through a little bit of trial and error, I was able to get the G.Skill memory to work correctly. One of the things you have to do is you absolutely have to install G.Skill's software for their RGB. Turn it on at least once, close it out, and then that memory showed up in Gigabyte software. It did not show up without it. I was able to control, obviously, the motherboard itself because it was there. The memory did not show up until I went ahead and installed that software. Now, I did not have the software running. I just had to install it and run it one time, close it out, and then from there, Gigabyte picked it up and it saw it. I did have a little bit of an issue trying to get it to see the RTX 3060 from Gigabyte. I had to go back and reinstall all the NVIDIA drivers. Even though I thought they were current, I had to go back and make sure that I had the latest versions, reset the computer, and then it came back on. Then when it came back on, it didn't see the Trident memory. So I spent a few minutes going back and forth with that. Finally, I had to just turn the computer off, turn the power off, turn everything back on. It did all come up and it did all see each other, and they played well together. So I was able to do the motherboard independently of the video card if I wanted to, do the memory independent of the motherboard or the video card. All those things were independently selectable. Unfortunately, G.Skill's, if you're trying to use G.Skill's lighting, it's not the most intuitive, and you can't really, there's not a whole lot of settings on it. I'll just say that. But with the Gigabyte Fusion, it kind of surprised me a little bit that it worked as well as it did, even though there was a little bit of trial and error. And I was able to, after that, after I got them all three to play with each other, I was able to go ahead and turn the computer off, turn it back on, reset it or restart it, and didn't have any kind of issues after that. As I was saying, Corsair's does not play well with that, and that's fine because it doesn't say it does. Hopefully one day, maybe Corsair and Gigabyte and Asus and some of these other companies will all, kind of shake hands and use each other's plugins. I don't know. I hope. That would be nice. One thing I did notice in the meantime, Corsair, I also kind of did some videos walking through Corsair's IQ software, and it doesn't have anything to do with the Gigabyte stuff, but they have updated their software. So I'm going to have to go back through and kind of see what they've done there as well, because it's a very different layout than the one that I showed in a video. But as far as the Gigabyte stuff, I'm very, very pleased. I even ran a Heaven benchmark test just to kind of see what it looked like when I was comparing the RTX 3060 in the Corsair setup that I just got done doing, one of the unpotato or the new mashed potato or au gratin or whatever we're going to call it. I went ahead and ran the benchmark test with this Gigabyte motherboard with a 4350 against the 3600 on the Asus motherboard, and it actually beat it. Surprisingly, it beat it, and it beat it fairly well. So it makes me interested to go back and look at not only the processors that I can use in that Corsair case that are on that Asus motherboard, but maybe go back and check some of these on the Gigabyte motherboard as well, because this seems to be that combination, I was not expecting a Ryzen 3 to beat a Ryzen 5 in a simple benchmark test. Now, it could be a one-off. I'll have to play some games and get some benchmarks in those as well to see how they look and how they hold up. But I was, with the synthetic test, I was a little bit surprised, and actually quite pleasantly so. So overall, taking another look at this, there is one other thing I need to mention. There is an app, an Android app, that is built into Fusion. You will have to like put a password in, but you have to be on the same network. So it's not like, I don't believe, I haven't tried it. I will when I go ahead and put, when I put my friend's computer together with all this, I'll go ahead and get everything going on that app and see if I can control it from somewhere other than here. But it says you have to be on the same network. So same Wi-Fi network, same LAN network or whatever. And so I will go ahead and install that, and I will see how that works. And maybe even, who knows, maybe even do a video. I definitely will do a video when all this gets built and put together, do some benchmarks, and I'll probably add whatever is going on with that mobile app onto that too. But so far, you know what? I had some questions. I had some thoughts because I've heard, sometimes I've heard not so favorable things about Gigabyte, but I've heard that about other companies too. Mainly I've heard that their customer service is kind of hard to deal with, but the quality of the product speaks for itself. I'm pretty happy with what I've got. I've got a friend of mine, Jeremy, who also touched base with me, said he just got this same motherboard and it worked really well with his stuff. First time out, just right off the bat. He's got a 5600X, I believe, that he's running in his. So I feel very, very confident that whatever we do with this is going to work, and I look forward to it. So that's all I got for right now. It is the July 4th weekend. I hope everybody is safe. I hope everybody has fun. Don't forget to like me on the other socials, subscribe, thumbs up, and all that good stuff. And until next time, I'll see you later.